West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. West Ham are massive, everywhere we go. Everywhere we go.
Yet more goings on in the boardroom at West Ham United, and whilst this might not be as meaty and as interesting a topic as transfer business and all of the rest of it, it is important that we need to talk about it. And the important thing about it is I want your input as well. So you've got a comment section below, so please get stuck into it. But before I get into the subject at hand, the video that I did yesterday seemed to spark something of a reaction from you. It's got quite a few views for a channel of the size of the West Ham Massive, but off of the back of it, our subscriber numbers have gone up. So I've got a massive thank you for the support that you've shown just for that one video alone. It was absolutely incredible. So really appreciate that, guys. If you could just have a little look and just see if you are subscribed. If you are, brilliant. Appreciate your support, and thanks for coming back. If you're not, please just click subscribe. As I say, you can rest assured it doesn't cost you any money. We don't get your data sensitive information. It literally just grows the channel into something bigger down the track. Click the bell icon. You'll be notified of any new content as and when it's added to the channel. Drop a like on this stream, and if you have any hypes that you wish to give to this particular production, please feel free. I won't stop you. Anyway, let's get on to the subject at hand. Now, it's been reported that I don't know if he's a data analyst or whatever his particular job role at West Ham United was, and I stress the word was, because Maximilian Hahn has resigned from the club. Now, he came in under the Tim Steidten regime when he was the director of football, and despite the fact he moved on in the early stages of the Graham Potter reign, Maximilian Hahn was very well viewed by the hierarchy at the club and retained his position, and probably got a little bit of extra responsibilities off of the back of Steidten's departure. But be that as it may, now obviously here we are in the era of West Ham dropping out of the Premier League and going into the Championship, and a lot of things that are going to be happening behind the scenes, one of which obviously appears to be the growing influence of Daniel Křetínský as a real sort of mover and shaker. I mean, obviously he's been at the club for a number of years now, but he's been, it would appear, something of a fairly silent partner for the majority of his time here, but that seems to be changing quite rapidly, and we'll talk about that more as we go along. But getting back to Max Hahn, he has moved away. He's quit his role as the head data analyst, whatever his job title was. Now, that role, it would appear, is going to be taken over, at least in the interim, possibly permanently, by a gentleman by the name of Dylan Curnell. Now, Dylan Curnell was already working at the club. He is a West Ham United fan, and he will step into that role. But just in case anyone's a little bit concerned, because of one of the conversations that's been had of late, is whether there was going to be a replacement to the aforementioned Tim Steidten. The word on the street is that the club will be looking to pull in a director of football, technical director, sporting director, whatever title you want to give that, the person that will be the one that's actually doing the deals, going out, making the negotiations and all of the rest of it, making the transfers actually happen. The director of football is someone that still the club are keen to bring into the club and have in that role. So the word is that is going to happen. Now, Kieran Scott is the name that has been linked quite heavily in the media. He's the current director of football, technical director, as I say, whatever role, whatever term you want to give that role. He's the guy in charge of that particular responsibility at Middlesbrough. He was involved in one name that he was involved with quite recently, relatively recently, was Morgan Rogers, bringing him into Middlesbrough and obviously moving him on to Aston Villa. So Kieran Scott is the one that's been heavily linked. Whether he ultimately is the one that ultimately comes into the role remains to be seen. There's a little bit of conjecture. Mark Carlow on the West Ham Way, for example, has made his thoughts known that he's not entirely convinced whether it will be Kieran Scott, but everything will remain to be seen as far as that's concerned. So who's going to be the director of football? Like I say, we'll wait and see on that. But a little bit of a concerning piece of news is that a few of the people that are involved in this process allegedly is the two sons of David Sullivan, Jack and David. Now, whether that's actually something that is going to be allowed even by Daniel Křetínský, as I say, whose influence is growing in the West Ham United boardroom, I'm not too sure that's going to be something that Daniel Křetínský will just sit idly by and allow the sons of the current majority shareholder to actually sort of hold sway in that. On the Daniel Křetínský, though, as I say, he is currently the second highest shareholder within West Ham. David Sullivan is the greatest. There is an opportunity up until, as I understand it, the end of the month of June for Daniel Křetínský to put an injection of cash into the club and hope to boost our quest to get into the Premier League at the first time of asking. Now, as I understand it, and look, I don't pretend to be an expert in all of the financial rules and regulations around whether it's profit and sustainability rules or squad cost ratios or financial fair play and all of those things that have come and gone or still remain within the game. I'm not an expert in that. I'm just an average Joe fan, same as probably most of you guys that are watching this. But one thing that is apparently clear is that Daniel Křetínský has the opportunity to pump £90 million worth of his own money into the club to help it on its way back to the promised land of the Premier League. But he has to do it by the conclusion of the month of June. If June turns into July, that opportunity will be gone and that can't be revisited later down the track. And obviously, if we don't get back into the Premier League at the first time of asking, as I understand it, that opportunity for money to be pumped in by a rich benefactor such as Křetínský as this season moves into next season, that opportunity will reduce. And as I understand it, it will not be a £90 million injection. It will be reduced to, I think it's £15 million per season or whatever it is, but he won't have that opportunity then. So he needs to strike now. Now, if he does that, by virtue of that, as I understand it, what will happen is that the other shareholders will have their shares diluted. So effectively, his shares will become, his shareholding within the club, the business of West Ham United, will effectively become there or thereabouts equal to that of David Sullivan, which again means that David Sullivan's influence within the halls of power at West Ham United will reduce ever further still. Now, personally, I think that's not something that I would be too sad about. David Sullivan has basically been in charge of the club for 16 years. There's obviously been some good elements to it. Obviously, who can forget Prague? But I think that most people, by and large, think that he should have left town a long time ago. There are some fans that still can't forgive him for taking him away from our spiritual home of Upton Park and into what is effectively an athletic stadium. Yes, 62,500 stadium. Yes, all of that extra finances. Yes, all of the extra fans that it brings in. But fundamentally, he moved us out of a home that we had for over 100 years that was part of our identity and moved us into a rented Goldfish Bowl is effectively what it is, which most dyed-in-the-wool fans such as myself really can't stand and can't wait until the day comes that we're in a proper football stadium once again. Whether that ever happens in my lifetime remains to be seen. But Daniel Křetínský needs to get this money in now. He needs to make this investment, one, to move West Ham into a stronger position in terms of getting some business done, and number two, to dilute the shares of the other shareholders within West Ham United. And principally, the one that I'm really concerned with getting their shares diluted is David Sullivan, which will mean that Daniel Křetínský's influence grows ever stronger. And I think that will then usher in a new era of dominance in the boardroom away from David Sullivan. He's had 16 years in that role, and unfortunately, he's just not really sort of come up to the grade, certainly in the last couple of years anyway, in terms of actually doing what we need, a custodian of the club. And that's all he is. He doesn't own the club. He's a shareholder. He's the majority shareholder. Yes. He's the chairman. Yes. As things stand right now, he doesn't own the club. The club is owned by the supporters, the fans, the people that have come year after year, generation after generation. We're the lifeblood of this club. These people in the boardroom, they're just investors. They're passing through. One day they won't be there. And hopefully David Sullivan's time is growing ever shorter and he can go out of the door. But what do you think? Daniel Křetínský, is it a good thing, him, getting a little bit more influence, a little bit more power? Is that a good thing? Maximilian Hahn's moving on. Good move, bad move? Who do you want to see coming? Kieran Scott's the name that's been mentioned. Have you got someone else that you think might be a consideration for coming in as the director of football, technical director, sporting director, whatever that term is, the guy that's ultimately responsible for doing the transfer deal, much in the same way that Tim Steidten did? You all remember the photographs of him on the plane, coming back, going away, coming back with this player, that player, the other player. who do you think? I mean, is Kieran Scott on your radar, or is there someone else that maybe you might think is a better fit for West Ham United? Get your comments in the section below and let's get discussing it. Please don't forget to check if you're subscribed to the channel. If you're not, click the button that says subscribe, and also click the bell notification, and you'll be notified of any new content as and when it's uploaded to the channel. This doesn't cost you any money. It takes a second of your time. We don't get any data sensitive information. And again, thank you for all of your support in the last day or two. The subscriber numbers have gone upwards, and the views for that last video that I did on Karen Brady was really phenomenal. So really appreciate the support, guys. It really does sort of give me a spring in my step and make me think that I'm doing something half worthwhile anyway. Also, don't forget to drop a like in this stream, pop a hype if you've got any available, and we'll see you again soon. Come on, you Irons.
West Ham are massive everywhere we